Good afternoon from our studio in Amsterdam. Today, I'm thrilled to have Michaela Berglund, I hope I got that name correctly, the founder and CEO of Feminvest. For those that are listening, Michaela, who are not familiar with you or Feminvest, I was quite impressed. It's quite a large network of female founders and investors. Tell us a bit about who you are, what you do, what are you trying to achieve, what is your big purpose, and ultimately how those that are listening can help you.
Yeah, it's actually like two things I would say that I want to build business, I want to earn money, but I also want to impact the world in a positive way. And I identified through my own story, I identified a hole in the financial market that I am filling at the moment by building step by step. And it started out with me working with entrepreneurs. I lived in London for a few years and started my own company and worked with all sorts of industries. And that led me to the financial industry. UK and Sweden are very unique with super active retail environments. So I came back and started to work on IPO processes and so on. And I learned a lot about raising capital. And I realized, because I've always been on the business side, I realized like if you know marketing and sales and financing, you can achieve quite a lot, actually.
Hmm.
So I started to work in finance, and in 2017, I heard for the very first time that very little women received funding, less than 1% in Sweden at the time. And we are, prone to tell ourselves or share to the world that we are very equal. But in terms of financing, we haven't been successful in distributing wealth more evenly. So I started investigating why that was. And I started to talk to funds, VC funds, P funds, buyout, real estate. And most fund owners, investment managers, would say that it was a matter of deal flow. They didn't have access to companies. And I was trying to look into like, could it be that that is the case? I've always been interested in financial markets and investing a lot myself. So I started by building an investment network, an investment community. And by educating more women to become better investors, we started to grow and expand across the Nordics, and we grew quite fast. And through that, I realized by having women investors, and I got an immense deal flow because women founders looked at Feminvest as a good option for them if they were looking into fundraising and starting investigating that opportunity. And I thought, because it's like flowers and bees, that entrepreneurs always like to get close to money, and you know this very well, Robert. By the work you do. So we built the community because I thought, if I have the founders, they sent me pitch decks and I could assess if I commercially thought it was a good idea. But I realized quite fast that to be able to actually do really good investments, you need to know the founders. So I decided to continue to leverage the community model, formalize different community segments, entrepreneurs in one membership, investors in one. And by that, I could actually get to know and follow companies over time. And that led to me setting up the first investment fund. It's a Nuveka fund, Article 8 fund, that is targeting the S and in social because we look at women-owned companies. And when I brought this out
What year was that set up? When did you start that fund?
last year,
Okay.
and when I started talking about this 3 years ago, they said, oh, that's going to limit your deal flow so much. That's not
Yeah.
sufficient. I've had 1,700 companies applying to the fund in just over a year. And we've done 6 investments since the summer. Two companies are on a profitable path. One company was profitable the first year of business, 15% profit margin. And we were the only investor asked to join that company because of that we could contribute with the community. And this is something I believe very strongly in, like the community-based venture capital firm is helping out in sorting out a huge problem that VCs had over the last 10, 15 years. And it's the spray and pray method where you just like put your money in many things without assessing them. And we can assess the companies thoroughly for years before we invest. Some of the companies that I invest in now in the last few months, I've been following since 2018, 2022, and onwards. And I can evaluate when the commercial traction is happening. And that minimizes the risk and actually creates a fast upside. So we had the two first investments we did in the summer have received interest on 2.5 and 3x to what we invested in.
Oh, wow.
So
Congrats.
it shows early traction is excellent. So I know what I'm going to do for the next 20 years.
What is the average ticket size of the investments you make?
Good question. So we do we look at the Nordics
Hmm.
and we always invest together with others. It's so important nowadays, especially when there's a money is a scarcity in comparison to 2021, 2022. So we always invest together. We aim to take between 4 and 10% ownership, and that defines the ticket, really. We can invest pre-seed till A round, and if we look at one of the companies, we invested pre-seed at a 32 million valuation, so we invested 3 million and got 10%.
Oh, okay. So quite is that krona? Is that euro? Is
Yeah,
that
that's
dollar?
krona. That's
Okay.
krona. Yeah, so it's uh,
About
divided by 10.
300,000 euro.
Exactly. And we got 10%, and now we receive bids on 95 million
Hmm.
in the.
And you don't invest in other funds that focus on, let's say, femtech.
No, we don't. We do our own investments, and but can collaborate with other funds that, as femtech is a space that we could look at, and we follow quite a few companies within the femtech space. We haven't done an investment in the femtech space yet. We estimate that 80% of our portfolio is going to be towards tech, and approximately 20% in strong brands. And we've done two investments in like the strong brands that would be like e-commerce
Hmm.
companies, and both of them are like on a profitable path. So if this continues, then we will be able to. One company is more likely we'll look for a PE company within the next 3 to 5 years. They have 8 million in euros in revenues and is
Mm.
expanding a lot in the DACH region. And I've been following them from 2018, 19.
Wow.
So they've done it and had a really incredible journey. And the other company, we was the one company that we were the only ones asked. So they've been up for the first year and had the 15% profit margin. So, and they are doubling the revenues this year and estimating a 20% profit margin this year. So
And
let's see.
you only invest in Nordic companies, correct?
Yeah, we have a mandate to invest 70% within the Nordics and 30% outside of the investment thesis. So we have deal flow from all over the world. We've got some companies supplying from Oxford, Cambridge, and from Harvard, and from Tel Aviv, and across the world. So we are proud to see that we start to get a reputation in the position we have.
So you can invest outside of the Nordics.
Yeah, we can do 30% of the fund we can invest outside of the Nordics.
And can you share how large your fund is?
Yeah, it's a proof of concept fund. So we are targeting 10 million euros. So we have a really strong investor base, and we're actually going to close it now in the next few weeks.
Oh, good.
So
Congrats.
yeah, and it's been a tough market to raise VC
Oh,
funds. Yeah.
fundraising has become toilet cleaning. It's not
Yeah.
fun to do, but you have to do it every day. And unfortunately, it's a low skilled task done by high skilled people. And if everyone responded as you responded to the invitation here, it'd be fine. But people are busy being busy and you have to chase them so much. It's so the convincing is not the challenge. The challenge is getting a hold of them.
Yeah, you're right. But I see since we launched Feminvest, I've received tens of thousands of followers. I think I have like maybe 13,000 followers on LinkedIn now, just
Wow.
as I've announced this through international press about a year and a half ago that I was going to do it. So I think it's so interesting that, there is a demand for it and people follow. So if we do this right and continue to build it like business wise, then time will tell. And sometimes I say, can you imagine if we can build an EQT based on just continuing to do great things and
What is
leveraging our community ahead of investments and after investments.
your sweet spot in investing?
From the first traction, so we've done two pre-seeds, and we've done one seed and two A rounds now in the fund, and then we have one more seed that just joined. And but if we look at the two companies that has had tremendous value increase since the summer of 2025, and now we are in early May 2026, they are in the pre-seed case. So we see that we can actually pick companies at that position and that can develop very fast because of the commercial traction validation we look for. But I don't know because it's so early. We've just been owning the companies for the last two companies for a week or so. So
Oh, wow.
it's early days. I look forward to continue the conversation with you on how it will develop. But from now, we definitely pick companies at a very interesting time.
And so there's not a specific industry focus.
We say tech, 80% tech and then strong brands. So that can be e-commerces that would be on a profitable path or so.
Okay.
Still
And
yeah.
all of the companies that ultimately get through your investing process have to be women owned, or the majority of the senior management have to be women. What is there a cutoff there?
Yeah, we look at 50% ownership in the companies from the beginning when they were founded. So as I did an IPO in 2021,
Oh, congrats.
yeah, thank you. I was the largest women owner in
So
an
you're a
equity
secret
fund.
billionaire, you just haven't told anybody.
No, because I didn't own. So I was
Oh,
in the board, but I owned 2.6%. And the UK and Sweden are super active, like I mentioned earlier, like markets for investors. So a lot of listed companies. We're the second most active market after the UK on the European continent. And I read a report the same year that I was a part of the IPO that women in board own 1% and women in board and management own 1% for every exit in
mm.
relation to the male peers. So this means that we scale companies. We are part of the decision making. If you look, it's like 25, 35. It's like maybe 25% in boards and up to 35% in management. So we are part of building those companies, but we are not owning it. So I thought, can I build a community based on ownership? So that's what I did to both educate on the importance of ownership for the mandate you have if you want to scale something, but also to look at, can I cut it there? Because I do want to achieve an equal world where we own equally. And if I don't care if it's a male CEO or a woman CEO, like the best leader, but can I just look at the ownership? So that's been an interesting aspect.
And are the investors in your fund or proof of concept fund are mainly women, men, or both?
They are mainly women. 65% of our LPs are women. And like if you look at the capital, and this is also something I find interesting that I don't think it's that many venture funds that would have a majority of women investors. What do you think?
No, no. I mean, it depends. If it's a tier one fund, they hoover up all the money from, the large LPs, the pension funds, and that. So they don't really raise money. They send a fax. You got 10 minutes to respond, or an hour, or that day, and everybody else fights over the crumbs. Um, and in general, if it's a tier one fund, the ticket size are too large for individual investors, even for some family offices to invest because they want, 25 million, 50 million, whatever, as a minimum ticket size. One thing I did find, what is interesting, because I deal with heads of big funds, sometimes women, sometimes men, ticket size I found, or sorry, size of assets has nothing to do with social skills. Some of the largest families, the largest fund men like General Atlantic, will apologize if they don't respond in a day, or half a day, where some have absolutely no social skills, irrespective of that. And it's unfortunate that a lot of founders have to deal with the process of they meet a fund manager, they have a nice engagement, really excited, then they have 6 months of foreplay, no sex, and then they're ghosted forever. And
Yeah,
that happens far too much. And despite of the fact of AI being so important, very few of the VCs use AI to filter deals and respond quickly to the founder. I'm sorry, this does not meet our requirement for whatever. And saying no quickly is really more helpful to a founder than a forever maybe. There's
mm,
there's too much of that, and I found that most of the women's or femtech or fem funds run by women um, are more successful in general because they're able to balance a variety of things instead of, this alpha male stuff of, extraction. It's only about well, I got to extract as much as possible because, as you know, it never goes according to plan. It's always worse or better. If it's
yeah, it's true.
better, Donald Trump is a good investor for you. He'll
Mm.
get his check. If it's worse, how do you respond? Do you help the person out of the hole, or do you throw them under the bus?
Yeah,
And
be
that's,
right. Yeah, but I also think like that's also the beauty of having a community because
yeah,
no is never no. I said no to one of the founders I recently invested in, a year ago, 1 year and a half ago. So also getting that and feeding them back so you can continue to follow them because the best founders are the people that learn and grow with
correct.
feedback they receive. So I think that's also the beauty of what we are building, and it takes a lot of time, of course, to establish and so like nurturing it as well. But we can also keep a lean model for the fund. So we've got a community manager that's in the conversation with entrepreneurs on a weekly basis. So from an investment manager perspective, my colleague would can talk to her and get really interesting updates on the progress of the entrepreneurs and so on without that being a cost to the fund. So there are a
Have
lot of
you
interesting.
have you ever approached EIF for funding for your fund?
Yeah, we are in conversation. So maybe we will be able to they are following us for sure. I think what we do is really interesting. And I think that we will definitely have a conversation with them when we go for the fund that would be in the level for what they look for in size. As our first fund is slightly smaller.
Did you ever pitch? There's a fund of fund in the US run by Bahia Yasmin Robinson. She invests only in other funds run by women. You might want to check her out as a potential funder. We did also a podcast with her a while ago. Um, what is have you done any exits? I mean, you've only been around a year, you said
Yeah,
last
less
year.
than a year.
So it's a bit early, but you're seeing traction. Um, how you said 35% of your investors are men, and these are retail investors. I guess they're not institutional investors.
And now they're high net worth individuals. So we
Okay.
target semi-professional investors. So the Veka fund structure is quite interesting because it's like 100,000 euros. So I think that is one of the reasons also we have a lot of first-time fund investors that are curious to invest in the unlisted space and want to diversify their portfolio by getting 10 or 15 companies in one
Who
batch to us.
who's a bigger pain in the ass as an LP, men or women?
I don't have any difference there, but I have an interesting reflection. My male investors have done introductions to other investors.
Oh, that's very nice.
And that's happened. I don't have that many male investors, of course, but they introduce us to others. I haven't had a single female investor that's done
Oh,
that.
so they're willing to share that's very unusual that they're willing to open up their network. That's a very interesting observation. I hadn't thought about that because it's always hard to get high net worth to open up their network to others. They're kind of secretive about that. What is the long-term ambition that you have? I mean, you built a network of 55,000 women members. That's incredible.
Yeah, it is. And it just shows the interest in those topics. And it's growing by the day. So we grow by thousands every month. So I think that it's continuing to build value from the fund perspective. I was contemplating, should I start an investment company or should I set up a fund? And I
Mm,
was thinking the fund structure in the Nordic region, as we started out here, we are very well acquainted with the fund structure. And so actually to build trust and to build, if I would set up an investment company, we were going to, it's difficult for a business model with very low management fees, and you don't have the exit as close by usually. It's
mm.
usually like owning for a longer period of time. And I need a little bit of speed and I need traction to be able to showcase that we can continue to leverage this as a business side. So I decided to go for the fund, and I think that the next fund, obviously targeting 50 million euros or so, like this, I can grow with this and just leverage and continue to build the community aside.
And the um, who is your ideal investor? Because it seems like more a little over a third are men, and they're more willing to open up their network than let's say the women investors. But who is your ideal investor? Is just someone who wants to support female entrepreneurs? Is that really the criteria?
But I also like encourage and like the fact that we are so business focused, that it's like I don't think that I do think that some of our investors will be, wanting to contribute no matter what, but we actually want to target like profits in the upcoming years and
Mm.
doing an exit. So we have a structure where we don't reinvest. If we do an exit, we pay back
Oh,
to our investors straight away. And I think that that's also something that just shows that, we want to be like investor friendly and continue to build with our investors over a long period of time. And that trust that they've given us now without us as a team having that um, competence or working together on a fund, they've trusted us in a very turbulent time.
yeah.
So, like just that, and using that to continue to build, that is, and that it doesn't really have to be a certain certain investor, but I guess you have to see the business opportunity as well as, wanting to be part. I
Yeah,
had
we always tell fund emerging manager funds and companies and founders it's farming, not hunting.
yeah, it's
And
true.
you have to be very patient. What has been the most inspiring thing about starting your own fund, and what has been the most irritating thing of starting your own fund?
I started out investigating because I knew I needed to set up a fund. I had as a target, but I didn't think it was going to be me. I thought I was going to recruit
Mm.
someone that could do
Ah,
it.
okay.
But the more I investigated on how to set up the structure, in the end, I just realized, but now I know enough. So one of the most beautiful things with this journey is by like persistency, and I have a background in sports. I've been doing one in pentathlon, and I'm a former swimmer. So you just do for 2 hours every day, sometimes morning and night. You just swim the same 25 meters. Like it's not always fun, as you can imagine. Yeah, you see the same thing, and it's like very monotonous. You say maybe is that the English word?
Hmm.
So it's
Monotonous, yeah.
yeah, but that's also so that's so good because if you just continue and continue and continue, you learn new things. And all of a sudden, I was actually in conversation with a guy that wanted to set up a fund. So I thought that we were going to do it together, but then for different reasons, he wasn't there at the time when I got to the point that I was ready and he was not ready at the time. He's in our IC at the moment, but then or like advisory IC we have. Um, and then I was like, okay, I can do it. So that's definitely some, like, no matter what one is doing, whether it's fundraising or like just to keep on pushing. And for me, it took years of maybe mostly confidence, and for me, it was about having the knowledge base. The most irritating thing is, it's like there are two things there. Like one thing would be, can you imagine if I would have started this in 2021? It would have been a lot easier to raise funds and get started. Um, and so that's one thing I've been thinking about. But then on the other hand, I would have invested on really high valuations with
Yeah.
some companies that, so I would get in quite in a more difficult time in the market and maybe struggle to get the value out of those companies in the next 2 years. So that's like the good side, as I am the optimist I introduced. But then the other thing is that like you can't hurry getting through and building that track record.
Mm.
You just have to be patient with that and building trust. Like you said, farming, it's not hunting. And that is a really important lesson. I always want to get to the goal, fast. But I
Well, sometimes, we all want to go faster than the music, but, sometimes it's just not the right time. Or, there's also an unusual phenomenon which I didn't know existed until quite a few years ago when I was assisting some of the family office event organizer, the pseudo billionaire. It's almost like a plague about people pretending to be extremely wealthy or
mm,
billionaires, and they go to these family and you find out they have no money, but they're pretending to be, and wasting your time. And yeah, let me look at all this, let me have access data room, but they're not actual investors. And I remember my wife, she did a very good brilliant project, not very sexy project, but very impactful. She started a vocational hotel school in Bhutan, and she did her PhD there and knew how to operate in that culture. And she met so many people pretending to be investors who were just placement agents or socialites who want to, something interesting to talk about. How do you filter out the noise of the pseudo billionaire?
It's a numbers game to me. So I target how many meetings I should have a week and continuing because I know over the years what has been left as is the trust. I've
Mm.
continued to have that. So the more relevant people I get to meet, and the curious ones will follow. We also have a large conference in the Nordics. We gathered 1,400 people last month.
Wow.
Yeah, in Stockholm. We do it in the Nordic region. And after that, people have been committing to taking part, through because people want to be part, and that's the beauty of what we're doing. We're building something that's very inclusive, where we let everyone grow from the level they are at through the community. We can inspire each other. We actually have a lot of men that are part and join in. It's one of the important missions I have in the upcoming years to actually bridge more. I needed to start with women because I needed to secure the companies and the deal flow, and now I need to get everyone in to explore this and be open to if there is a business opportunity there, and so I need to be inclusive there too, which I think is super important.
But that's quite a lot. I mean, organizing a big summit every year. I'm glad we did 40 in the past when the word ESG and impact didn't exist. We were building that ecosystem. I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore. It's very, very tiring. It's a lot of detail work. Then you've got a network that wants to be fed. Some of them want to be entertained and they want to feel I'm at the movie theater and Michaela is performing for me rather than no, it's a network that we're sharing together.
Mm.
So that's a lot to juggle and the fund management.
Yeah, that's why we bring in people that are very experienced in that to do that. So we got like event managers that are good at that. And obviously, I did the first conference, I did the second conference, and then now I have one of the leading media companies, like the previous CEO, she is leading the community
Oh, good.
from a business perspective. So the first years you always have to do everything, but
Yeah.
as you take the next steps, it's also one of the most frequent failures of entrepreneurs, isn't it? That they try to do everything.
The um the network is that's a nonprofit, I guess.
It's a business actually. So we've been looked at because we are one of the few business like communities. So we have membership fees. Like it's a media company. So we also have a magazine like that's distributed with. We've distributed with the train. We distributed like from Denmark, Copenhagen to Oslo to Stockholm to Finland in the north, and we've had a distribution of the magazine. It's like a way of financing getting the word out. So it's a media company, you could say, where we
Oh,
have
it's
hundreds
a
of entrepreneurs that are
for-profit.
members.
It's a for-profit or a not-for-loss. We
Exactly.
have two company. One company is not for loss and one is a for-profit. We try to sometimes you try to make money, but particularly with the events, it's very hard unless you have a lot of sponsors, or you lie and say, I'm going to put you in front of 100 family offices who are all billionaires and they never show up. So it's very impressive
Yeah, we
that you've
had
been
we
able.
had 60 exhibitors at the last conference.
Wow,
Mm.
that's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, but that was my colleague's work, so I can't take credit for that.
No, but I
But
mean, you planted the seeds to do that. I don't. Do you have any children?
Yeah, three.
Oh my goodness! Wow, so superwoman of juggling that and the work and this fund manager. It's incredibly impressive what you've accomplished. How
Yeah,
can we help you?
yeah, it's always like getting to know each other, of course, and I welcome this invitation to take part in getting to know you, and now you know what we do, so we are always open to meet new people that are interested and want to be part of the vision to accelerate women's ownership and
Hmm.
leverage good business opportunities through
Have
some
you
ownership.
ever pitched your fund to Mercer?
No.
So Mercer has one of the largest fund of funds in impact, and they invest in emerging managers, but they're very slow in their decision making. But they have 450 million in assets, and they invest in other funds. You might want to take a look. It's Angelica Dalen is kind of leading that there. But there's I think the approach you're taking now of having these individual high net worth investors writing 100K checks is much wiser because the decision making can be done relatively quickly. It's not a major loss if things don't work out. And you've built quite an impressive organization. How do you find your deals, or how do the deals find you?
It's a combination. We've had approximately 1,700 companies applying
Wow.
inboundly. Yeah, it's a lot. But we also have to get out there and follow interesting companies. So I've been chasing a founder this week, you could say.
Okay.
It's also part of the work to be an attractive investor and say telling that you want to look at them.
Hmm. Yeah, and you said that you would do 30% outside of the Nordics, and that's mainly in the Europe or also in North America.
Yeah, we can look in the North American space too, but we see that because of our community, obviously we can leverage the community in the Nordics to a greater extent. So it makes sense to try to find a lot of companies in the Nordic region. We are hosting a first event to introduce who we are in Germany in
Oh,
May. So we do see that the European continent also is big enough for if we received 1,700 companies in a year, mostly inbound, then just looking at Europe is sufficient.
yeah. There, the focus, you said your focus is much more in tech. You're not specifically focused on impact or sustainability or climate or carbon or NBS, correct?
No, we're not. We're an article 8 fund, and we actually focus on the social. Like if we are going to ensure that women, not just women, because what I've seen is like from 2010 and onwards, the P and VC funds, they've been getting requirements from their LPs to look for women as a part of the team. This has led to mostly male teams bringing in women into the team, but with very little ownership and little too late. So the institutional investors have been investing in male teams, saying you need to bring women on board. They bring them on board, and that's a good thing. They've received the competence, but they haven't been part of the structural ownership, and that's the next step for us to ensure that women get to invest back into new companies. And also, I was just talking, I think, there's so many reasons for why the VC segment hasn't explored investing in women. One thing is, of course, deal flow. Like I know that because I am a women-friendly organization, they feel safer reaching out to me. Like they position me as a good cop. from an investor hat. And if you look at data, it shows that unconscious bias exists. Like we rather invest in people that are similar to ourselves, whether we are male or female. And I was just listening to a podcast the other day by Anders Hansen, a Swedish. He's focusing on research on brains and publishing a lot of books about how the brain works. And he just said, like, I always take away 20% of what males are selling, and I don't take anything away from what women are selling. And if that is the case, I don't have his competence, but if it would be, can you imagine if two people, a woman and a man, are selling the same thing, but he adds 20%? Of course, that's more attractive for an investor. So I think maybe that has played a role too in that you have to leverage following entrepreneurs to see what they accomplish. And by that, it's easy to make an investment decision. And for us, it could be good because the value of her company in comparison to his is most probably slightly lower. And this is also what data indicates. And yeah, let's see.
And also I find that particularly a lot of the alpha males in the private market space are not authentic, for completely extractive, only extractive in nature, and not humble, where I find a lot of the women are authentic, non-extractive, and humble, less willing to overpromise
Yeah.
and much more about delivering. I mean, it's always funny when every male fund manager will always tell you, we always beat the benchmark, which is not true. Our PE fund always gets 30% returns, which is not true. Our VC always gets 30 or 40% return, which is also not true, but no one seems to question it when they say that with full, full authority. So it's maybe women need to more blow their own horn and have much more confidence because they're kind of getting on with it. And
Yeah, but if I look at myself too, like obviously I started with not thinking I was enough to set up a fund.
mm,
So what I've realized there is like, okay, role models play a part. For me, it was more the financial literacy. Like if the more I knew, the more confident I felt. Like I'm confident by nature. I'm not the most, I believe that I can do things.
mm,
So so I also think that that's really good to look at. Like we need strong knowledge, and the knowledge will help for sure in contributing to more to even out. But that also means that investors have to be humbled. If they now, I just read the report, like 85% of decision makers in the VCP space are men.
mm.
And if they continue to blame that it's the deal flow, they're not going to change.
Mm.
They are going to, because it puts them in a position where they don't have to do anything. And if you actually want change, you'd have to do something differently from what you did, like Einstein put it so well. So it's yeah, I'm pressing buttons and
Mm.
seeing what result I get, and I will continue to do so. And I don't feel like I have the results yet, but I'm onto something.
Well, I think you're a bit too humble and underestimating because when I started, I had no financial background at all. I didn't study that. I studied history and politics, and my goal was to be the assistant district attorney for for Brooklyn dealing with organized crime. So I had no track record experience in the financial sector. And I always used to think, wow, these alpha males, masters of the universe, they must know so much because they have access to so much information. And then I realized, no, they're just used car salesmen with a Rolodex, and they're not as brilliant as they think they are. So I think we should not be over impressed by them because
Mm.
most, don't really deliver, and they're not really that clever. And so I think you should not underestimate what you've achieved or overestimate where you need to be. I think you're doing an incredible job. You don't have to beat yourself up. Other people will do that for you. And you just have to be very authentic and non-extractive and speak your barbaric Europe. That's the event that we have. I don't have external shareholders, so I can say whatever I want. We don't have sponsors on any of our websites, our events, our podcasts, mainly because I just want to have open, honest dialogue and ultimately try to change the financial system so it works for all stakeholders. One tip, there is a fund of fund in the Netherlands called the Wire Group. Maybe you know them. They focus mainly on investing in funds that are social focused. So you might want to check them out, the Wire Group.
Mm.
Um, any last minute things that you would like the audience that are listening to know about you and your organization?
Like it's an open, everyone can join, as just go to feminvest.se and take part. So if you are curious after listening to what I've said, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. Michaela Berglund is my name, and Feminvest is easy to find too. So look forward to continue the conversation.
Fantastic. Let me just turn this off.